we go. Let's try this again.
All right.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's once again that time for this week's episode of Inside the Bullring. And we're going to get this video kicked off here and let people start joining in before we dive into our topics for the night. So we'll just start off a little bit of an intro here. My name is Steve Ovens. I'm the media director and announcer at the Woodhull Raceway. And with me tonight, we've got Kim Symonds, who last week we gave the title of, go ahead, what was that again, Kim?
Lineup producer.
Lineup producer. There we go. That's right. And then, of course, we also have Megan Dupuy on with us tonight. Megan is our media intern at Woodhull Raceway. Megan, great to have you on the show.
I'm excited.
And we're getting the stream up. I think, knock on wood, I think we've got everything. Oh, there we go. I just made the dog mad. Dog's upstairs barking. She thinks somebody's at the door. So I think we've got all of our technical issues figured out here, so we're about ready to go here with tonight's episode, and we're going to have a lot of fun.
That was easy.
So let's go ahead and get things kicked off here and tell everybody a little bit about what they're going to hear on tonight's program. And I've got all sorts of cool graphics. We're going to talk a little bit about the points breakdown. We'll get back to this here in just a minute, but we're going to talk about the points breakdown. We're also going to go over the handicap breakdown and how that looks for this year. So you're going to see those graphics come up on your screen if you're watching here. And let's see. We got all sorts of people chiming in here, and the reaction in the past week. I'll throw this to both of you ladies. Kim, I'll start with you. The reaction this past week has been awesome. The numbers that we've generated here on the Woodhull page has just been phenomenal with the addition here of Inside the Bullring, and I imagine you've heard a lot of people talking about it as well.
Oh yeah. My mom's actually very excited.
Oh, good.
She's like, this is the one time I could see my daughter. I haven't been home in weeks, so.
There you go. There
Yep.
you go. Megan, how about you? I mean, we got through our technical issues last week, and now we're off and running.
Yeah, it's really good. I've told a lot of people at my work about it, and because they were like curious on why I wasn't working on Monday nights now, and so I've got them all excited, and I have to share our video when we're done and tag everybody in it so they can see it, because somehow they missed last week's episode. So now they got to catch up, and they just keep talking and asking about it, and it's really nice.
Ah, very nice. Very nice. Well, let's go ahead and kick off into our topics of the night tonight. So we're going to talk about the handicap as well as the points breakdown. But I'm sure the thing that everybody is really wanting to hear about tonight is an update on where we are with the track and the grounds. And last week, and I'll put the photo up we had here last week showing the track. I just talked to Ted White here not even an hour ago and got a little bit of an update on where we are with the track, and not so much the track, but the grounds, the parking, the pit area. And as it stands right this second, things are still a bit damp out there. He said that there's a good chance that something is going to happen at the racetrack this week. What's going to determine what happens is Mother Nature giving us some warm weather like has been forecasted. So we're hoping that is the case. That we get some warmer weather and that we'll be able to kind of dry the parking area up for the fans. And that's really what we're waiting on right now is the parking area. We've got to get that dried up so that when people are coming and enjoying themselves at the races, they're not getting their cars stuck. The guys with the trailers in the pits are not getting stuck. So we're really hoping that this warmer weather helps finish dry things up. Now, as far as the track goes, the track's great. Track's ready to go. They're going to work on that starting tomorrow and Wednesday to kind of get things tilled up, get it rolled back in, get things, their normal track prep procedure. And so it sounds like from that perspective, everything is looking really great. But again, it's the pit area and the parking lot being soft, and that's really going to determine what we do this week. Now, I said that there may be something going on regardless at the track, and that's what we're going to wait to see. Plan A is we go racing with week number 1 as scheduled. Plan B, if we can't get the parking area dried up enough for the fans that are come out and enjoy the races, which the weather sounds like it's going to be really nice on Saturday if we can get that parking lot dried up. Plan B may be we may have practice as opposed to the first week of racing. So the best thing I can say is being our shows on Monday, stay tuned to the Woodhull Raceway Facebook page all week long. Stay tuned to the website. We'll get you as best a update as we can. And so that's kind of where we're at. We're kind of in limbo tonight. And if you looked at the forecast, the temperature is really going to warm up, and it's really supposed to be nice. So we are hoping that that we're going to be able to get the season lid lifter in. And Kim, I'll ask you because obviously your family right down the road from the track. Have you talked to them about kind of how things are drying up out that way?
I actually have not really spoke to them. The last I heard from my mother, they actually got a little bit of snow. I know that was probably Saturday. I had spoke to her about a little bit of snow, and she said it was ice cold. That's pretty much all I heard. But
yeah,
it's hard to say. I'm an hour and a half away, so it's hard. It's hard to compare weather here in Rochester to Woodhull.
Yeah,
but I'll be home. I'll be home Friday. So
awesome. Well, I know that there are some tracks in the area that are hoping to get their practice sessions in this weekend. I know some folks that actually race with us on Saturday nights are going to be venturing over to Outlaw to their practice on Friday to kind of get the car, get a good shakedown on their car and kind of see how they've got everything set before Saturday night's hopeful what we have will be a race. Let's take a quick peek at the schedule, and I'm going to bring that up here over on my other screen, and we'll take a peek at our racing schedule to tell you a little bit about what we got coming up on Saturday night, assuming that Mother Nature works with us a little bit here this week. And so what we are looking at is our season opener sponsored by Close Racing Supply, and it is slated to be a 30-lapper for the crate late models. So that's what we're looking at here this weekend. Let's go ahead and I'll throw that schedule up on the screen here, and hopefully you'll be able to see it okay. If not, log on to our website, woodhullraceway.com. And actually, as I say that, let's go ahead and put that one up there instead. There we go. So, the April 14th season opener, no modifieds, $1,000 to win for the crate late models, crate sportsmen, street stocks, hobby stocks, mini stocks, warriors, and our big front wheel drive challenge race number 1. That's the CB Motorsports Bears Auto Body front wheel drive challenge. We've had a lot of racers talking about joining us for that. Now, the thing that's interesting, Megan, about the front-wheel drive challenge, race number 1 is April 14th. Race number 2 is not till September 8th. So a lot of these front-wheel drive guys have an opportunity to come race with us right here at the beginning of the year and then come back and race with us in the fall for these challenge races.
Yeah, also I see it gives them a lot of time to come back to the track in between races and kind of, if they didn't do so good the first challenge, they can tweak their car, do different stuff, and then come back in the September race and use those adjustments and do a lot better.
Absolutely. They definitely have an opportunity to do that. Again, our sponsor for this week is Close Racing Supply. They came on board with us last year for the season opener, which is, of course, our Crate Late Model Special, $1,000 to win 30 laps for those guys. So thank you to everybody at Close Racing Supply for sponsoring this great event. And, of course, that front-wheel drive challenge race, number 1, also $400 to win. $50 to start for the front-wheel drives, a 30-lapper for them as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the car count could be for the front-wheel drives on Saturday, because there's certainly been a lot of talk, and the difference between talk and cars that actually show up sometimes can be a big difference. But it would really be exciting to see a field of 30 front-wheel drives trying to make the show on Saturday.
Oh, yeah. I thoroughly enjoy watching the front-wheel drives. I honestly think some nights they put on the greatest show. It's just, there's not, you know what I mean? They're all in it to win it. It's great. I really enjoy watching that class race.
And nice hat, Kim. You going with the sponsor hat. Hold on, let me put this up on the screen so people can see. And, so sporting the Close Racing Supply hat. I like it. Sporting the sponsor's hat. That's good. That's got to be worth a nice sponsorship opportunity, right? Uh-oh, I think we lost Kim there for a second.
Sorry, I muted my mic.
She
my bad.
muted herself. There we go.
I know a lot of people that travel down that way and get their racing supply stuff. They're great down there. Really, really enjoy them people down there.
Absolutely. Now, let's go ahead and, Kim, while we're talking with you here, I'm going to pull up the handicap breakdown so that people can see that up on the screen here. Now, we do have a little bit of a change to the handicap breakdown this year. We are going with a money earned type of system, which is a change from the system we had last year, which was based on points. So, Kim, I know that you got a lot of feedback in your role in the pit area and, of course, at the sign-in window. I think this is a change that a lot of people are going to enjoy, because that was the one criticism of the handicap system, of several last year, but the big one was there wasn't a big enough gap in between the high finishing positions and the lower finishing positions. And with this system that we have here, I think they're going to get exactly that.
Yeah. I actually heard quite a bit of feedback back from, I'm not going to really state a whole lot because a lot of it was negative. But a lot of people wanted to go back to draw, redraw. I mean, personally, from my opinion, I'm curious to see how this handicap will work. Curious to see how things will shake down. Like you said, last year, the handicap, I think it would have worked okay. It just, the points were too close between, first and second, and made it tough for drivers. But I'm curious to see how this money earned is going to shake down. And personally, for me, I prefer the draw, redraw. Can't really, how do I want to say? Can't really, play the races, I guess.
Yeah.
To me, draw, redraw, yeah, you come in the gate and you draw just like handicap, and it's great, but then you come to the draw window and it's your luck. It's based on your luck, and handicap, I think it will be good, though, for not to have those regular drivers. It'll be better for our regular drivers, but not. It'll be tougher for those that just newcomers coming in and stuff. I think it'll be a little bit more tough, but that's what makes you a good racer. Coming up through the field, and battling everyone. That's what makes you a good driver. It doesn't make you a good driver to stay in first place and win the whole thing staying there. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I'm with you. I'm with you. Now, the one part about this show that I like a lot is the fact that we're able to interact with our fans as the program's going on. We've got upwards of 50 people, and we've got some that are bouncing in and out watching. But for those that are tuned in to us tonight, I'm interested in your feedback. Whether you're a fan, a driver, a crew member, a sponsor, whoever, I'm interested in your guys' feedback as to what you think of this system. Do you like it? What did you think of the old system versus how this is going to play out? So if you want to chime in, throw a comment in the comment section. And if you have any questions, we'll also answer questions while we're live here on the video. Now, if you're watching this after the video takes place, we may not be able to get to those questions. And we do get quite a few comments that come in once the show's posted and up on the Facebook page to go back and watch on demand. But here's how the handicap payout breakdown is going to work. It'll be $1,200, and this will be the same across all divisions. So I want to say that as well. $1,200 will be the handicap for a first-place finish. And then, as you can see here on the graphic, it'll work all the way down to 24th place, which would be $60. So let's just take the example of a driver that finishes first and a driver that finishes fifth. You have a difference of $1,200 down to $400. And when you add that up over the course of a 3-week stretch, that is going to put a much larger gap in between positions versus our old system last year when it was done by points, where a winner would get 30 points and the fifth place finisher would get 22 points. So there was, a much smaller gap when we were doing it based on the point system. So this is what we're looking at for the handicap process for this year. It will be a handicap based on total of the previous 3 weeks of money earned, and I use quotes when I say money earned. It'll be based off of this system here. The handicap for each division will start on their third point race of the season. So their third race of the season. So like, for example, the modifieds start on April 28th. So for April 28th, as well as, let me pull up, let's see what that date would be. So for April 28th and May 5th, the modifieds will have a draw-redraw for those two races. Starting on May 12th, their handicap will kick in, and for that third race, we'll do a handicap based on 2 races, because we don't want to delay it any further than that, because then, we would be waiting well into the end of May to get that whole process started. So the handicap will start with your third race of the season. Now, for divisions that are racing this Saturday, your April 14th and April 21st finishes, that will generate your handicap for your race on April 28th. And that's just to get the season kicked off. And then once we have 3 races, it will then, from there on out, it will look back on the last 3 weeks that we raced, is how we will determine that. So, let's see. So I've covered that. Okay, you can see here on the graphic the breakdown from first all the way to 24th. The other thing that factors into the handicap to keep in mind is a black flag or a tech DQ. So if we have a post-race tech issue and somebody's disqualified due to a technical infraction of the rules, that will generate a $1,500 finish for handicap purposes. And the reason that is done is so that a driver that is, encounters a black flag or has a post-race DQ for tech inspection, that counts against that driver more than the driver that won the race that earns that $1,200 toward their handicap. So that's the graphic that you see down at the bottom the difference between that position. And then any car that does not qualify, if a car shows up and we have 30 cars to race that night and they don't make the 24-car feature, their handicap will be at $50. So it's just $10 lower than that 24th place position. While we are presenting all this information, I want to take a quick scan here and see if there are any questions in the chat here that we can answer while we're going through on the program. Anything that you ladies are seeing that we need to address here?
I actually don't. I just see a lot of comments, a lot of feedback from the handicap. Oh, am I talking? Yeah, I am.
Yeah,
Okay.
I gotcha.
Okay. I was asked earlier today, actually about 10 minutes ago, asked if this coming week is just show up points or it's the real deal.
So that's a good question. Last year, and this is the only thing I can speak to, is what happened last year. Now, last year, we didn't get a practice session in, so for that first race, it was discussed at the drivers' meeting, and the drivers at that time, at that event, the first race of the year, decided that they did not want to race for points that night, that the first show would be non-points due to the fact that we didn't get practice night in. So that decision has not yet been made. That's usually a discussion that takes place during the drivers' meeting. Based on that happening last year, I would be surprised if that didn't happen again this week. So, we'll see how that plays out. Now, we're talking about that, but, from my perspective, I think we need to make sure that the grounds get dried up and make sure that we can actually have the race event before we have the points conversation, because, at this point, we're kind of in limbo. We're not really sure what is going to happen in terms of whether we race this week or whether it's a practice session based on the grounds drying up. So that's where we are on that. Let's see, anything else do we have in here? I've got a question, it looks like. A good question here from Jared Dennis. I want to address this one. Wouldn't it be a point night since the first front-wheel drive race is that night? Let me clarify that. It will be a point race in the sense of it will be a point race for the Challenge Series for the front-wheel drives, but any Challenge race this season, whether it's front-wheel drive or street stock, those are non-point events. The only point, in terms of the season championship, the Challenge races will have their own separate point system. It'll be the same point system we use for weekly racing, but it will not be a season championship point race. So we want to make sure that with those Challenge races and the host of outside cars that we expect will be coming in for those, we don't want those races or any incident there to affect the season-long championship. So that's what we're looking at for that. Let's see. Adam Del Grosso, will those races on the 14th count toward handicap points? The answer, I will double check on that, Adam, but to my knowledge, I think that will. But you do bring up a good point. If it's not counting toward season championship points, so we'll have to take a look at that, and we can get you a more definitive answer there. I've seen a couple of people, and this is where I'll bring Megan in. I've seen a couple of people asking about the points breakdown, and will there still be heat race points? So I'm going to go ahead and load the graphic here so that you can see that at home. And here's our points breakdown for the 2018 season. And as you will see when the graphic comes up, that is correct. We will still have heat race points in 2018. It'll be the same exact format, 3-2-1 for the heat races, and it'll be the exact same point structure for the feature event, with 30 points going to the winner, 25 points going to second, and then 1 point difference all the way down through the field. Now, there is one change that has taken place this year, and that is once you get to 22nd place, that is where it changes to 5 points for 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. It will be 5 points for all three of those positions. It used to go 5, 4, 3, and then it ended at 3 with the position number 24. We've made that 5 for 22nd, 23rd, 24th. The division that I think that may affect the most would be your crate sportsman guys, as those are the guys that, have upwards of 24 cars on an every week basis. So they will probably feel that change more than anybody, but that is one change that's taken place. Now, Megan, I wanted to get you here on the conversation about heat race points. And while we're talking about this, just like we were doing with the handicap breakdown, if you have any comments, let's see where everybody's at on heat race points. Love them, hate them. What exactly do you think about heat race points? And now, Megan, I'll go to you because heat race points, I think, makes our heat races some of the more competitive races that you'll see in a qualifier across any track you could go to.
I have to completely agree with you, and I truly believe that sometimes it's the heat races that the guys win week in, week out, even if, it's the heat races that they win and then their top 5 finishes that help them in the points, I personally think, the most. And it really makes them battle it out because even when you have a guy searching for that third place position, that's sometimes what I like the best part of the heat races is because you need that 1 point to get past the driver.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm looking at some of the comments that are coming in here. Jared Dennis with another good question. Do heat points affect the handicap or no? And the answer to that is no. The heat race points do not affect the handicap anymore because we're not doing it by points. We're doing it by money earned. So there's a couple of things here. And Megan, we were just talking about this. The fact that you're still racing for heat race points, I think, makes those heat races just as entertaining for the fans at times as the feature races do. Even though it's not factoring into your handicap, you still got to race for those heat race points, right? From the beginning of the night. So the heat race points don't go away. They don't factor into the handicap. That is just going to be money earned from the feature finish, and that's the system that we're looking at here. Let's see. Got some folks talking about the fact that, and Kim, this is a great point that somebody made on here. You've got championships let's look at all of our championships last season. They all came down to 1 point except for, actually half of the divisions came down to a single point deciding the championship. I think that not only as a driver, but as a media person now, I think last season's season championship night was the most exciting I've ever been a part of, either as a driver or as a fan. When 4 out of your 8 division championships come down to a single point, I don't think it gets any better than that.
Oh, no. No, that's what makes it good. That's what makes the racing good, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So
I can honestly say that season championship, I was on the edge of my seat the whole night. I couldn't sit still. I was waiting to see and calculating if so-and-so finished in this position, they would win or get this many points.
Gotcha.
We got a couple comments on here.
Yeah, let's see what we got.
Well, I told John Waters to just go out there and pack the track.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He's a little salty about that stuff.
Yeah.
Dayton, if we have heat points, I'd rather handicap the heats because it seems like the same guys start up front every week in the heats.
Okay. Let's address that one, Kim, because that's a really good comment and a good talking point. So when we introduced the handicap last year, the one thing that we did leave in place was the draw for heat races. And
Correct.
the reason that we left that in there, and I think this may be good information for those that are watching tonight, that, if you're a fan, if you're a casual fan, you like to come to the races, but you don't kind of get the inside info, that's one of the great things about Inside the Bullring is we can give you, a little bit of insider information on kind of how things operate on a week-to-week basis. But we left the draw for heat races so that a driver that comes in from the outside, let's take Alan Rudalovich in the modifieds as a great example. He comes from, I think it's 3.5, 4 hours away to
Something
race
like
with
that.
us at Woodhull. It's quite a distance. So the handicap system really hurts him because when he comes to race with us, if it's on a points night, he knows he's going to start all the way at the back of the field because, he's not been there for 3 weeks. So he gets scored as a win for those 3 weeks. But with a draw for his heat race, he knows that when he shows up, he at least has a fighting chance to draw good position for the heat race. And if he can qualify his way into the feature, he then can start no worse than 12th. Now, if you go to some places that have a handicap where they don't have a draw for heat race in place, even if you go out and win your heat race, they rely on the handicap. You're going to start 20th or 18th or whatever the case may be. So this is very much a hybrid model where we take the good parts of what we feel the handicap system has, and we try and keep some of the good parts of what we like about the draw-redraw. So that answers that. Kim, is there anything else on that you can add in? I know you get a lot of feedback at registration over that.
I definitely do. And what it is I try to be as fair as possible across the board. I mean, it's the luck of the draw. I get a lot of drivers that come up and ask me to pick one, and I don't really feel obligated to do so. They act like I know where the tickets are. I don't know where the tickets are. You just pick one. It's luck of the draw. And like Dayton said, he's a little salty because he doesn't have very good luck drawing, which he doesn't. Dayton Brewer will come in the gate and draw 43 through 50 every week.
His luck is about like Dale Welty's at the draw sometimes.
It is. But one thing I like about Dayton that I think a lot of people respect about him is he's just got a positive outlook on it. He'll draw 49 out of 50. He's like, okay. I mean, at this point, what are you going to do? You got to, go up there and you got to race. I mean, yeah, you're starting tail end of your heat, but again, like I said earlier, that's what makes you a better driver. Dealing, trying to get past cars and stuff, that's what makes you a better driver.
I love that description. I like it. And talking about Dayton Brewer, let's talk about the last time we raced at Woodhull. Dayton Brewer drove from the back of the pack in the Bullring Challenge to finish third.
Yep.
Against some of the best in the Southern Tier that night. So I know that, a driver like Dayton Brewer entering this year as a Rookie of the Year candidate in the modifieds, he's going to be a guy to keep your eye on for sure because he proved it in those races that he started last year in the mods. He's got the talent. He's certainly got the car, and he has got a team behind him. His dad that turning wrenches on that car. They can set up a car. They've really got Woodhull nailed down. I mean, his dad is a past champion of the Crate Sportsman division. There's a lot of good things going for those guys coming into this year. Let's see. I think we've got most of our questions answered here in the chat. So let's close out the show tonight with our fantasy picks. As, yes, week 1 of racing scheduled for this week, which means the Woodhull Raceway Fantasy Racing League is ready to kick off. And I'm going to bring the website back up here for everybody to take a look at because we now have the fantasy racing page updated and ready to go. You can register your team. So let's go ahead and show you that. You can go ahead and register your team for the Fantasy Racing League. There's two different options. You can either choose to register your team and opt to pay the $20 registration fee at the track, or we now have it that set up where you can actually pay your registration fee online if you choose to do so. So there is that option to do that, and that's over on the left-hand side of the screen. You fill in your email address, your team name, and creativity is welcomed on those team names. And you'll hear our team names here shortly, and you'll see what we're talking about there. Your name and a contact number in case there's any problems with registration that we can get a hold of you. So once you do that, once you register your team and either choose to pay now or pay at the track, after you've done that, you'll get an email from the Fantasy Racing League saying that you're registered, you're ready to go. And then you can come back to this page here and actually pick your drivers. So you'll enter your team name, you'll plug in your email address, and then you get to select from all of these drivers here. And we have 3 different groups this year. Last year we called it Group A, Group B, and Group C. Megan said, you know what, we need to make this a little bit more lively. We need to come up with some names for these groups. So Megan submitted Bullring Brigade for Group 1, the Woodhull Wingnuts for Group 2, and the High Bank Hustlers is Group C. So the other thing to point out here in Group C is you have any of the drivers that are listed here available that you can pick from. However, you also have the write-in driver that you can enter. And your write-in driver can be any driver that's not otherwise listed in one of those 3 groups. And I'll give you an example. Let's say Canandaigua is rained out for the night and Alan Johnson decides he's coming to Woodhull Raceway to run for the night. Well, Alan Johnson's not in any of our 3 groupings, so you can then fill in under the High Bank Hustlers write-in driver, and you can write in Alan Johnson just for that night. The thing that you have to keep in mind, though, is you're only allowed to change 1 driver per week. So once you set your week 1 lineup, 2 of those drivers you got to be comfortable sticking with in week 2, because you can only change 1. Now, I have some teams that are already registered and submitting their picks, and they're going pretty heavy on crate late model drivers, which is great, but you got to keep in mind drivers, you know, if a crate late model driver you've picked in your fantasy team is going to be there in week 1 and not in week 2, you got to make sure you pay attention to what drivers you're picking, because again, when we get ready for week 2, you can only change 1 driver. So keep that in mind. I'll try and explain that as best I can. Kim, Megan, you guys have got teams. I've got a team ready to go. And we're going to go ahead and give our picks for our teams this week to not only have a little fun here with the crowd listening here on our Facebook Live video, but also to kind of help give advice, because not only are we going to tell you who we're picking for that group, but we have to tell you why we're picking that driver. We got to plead our case, and you know, we might be ribbing each other on some of our picks here. We'll see how this works out. Kim, Megan, you ready to give your picks?
Yep.
I'm ready. I have to remember who I picked, actually.
Okay.
I don't remember.
All right, Megan, let's start with this. Why don't you go ahead and tell us what your team name is for 2018?
So my team name is Team 2020.
All right, tell us about that name.
Was not very creative because I racked my brain for like 20 minutes and couldn't think of anything. So I went with the year I'm supposed to be graduating college.
Okay.
So 2020.
That'll work. All right, Kim, how about your team name?
The Wheel Deal.
The Wheel Deal. I
The
like
Wheel
it.
Deal.
I like it.
Because it is the real deal, but the wheel deal. I like
All
it.
right. Very good. So we've got 2020 and the wheel deal. I feel like I'm messing it up when I'm saying it, but I'm saying it right. Now, for my team name, I had a couple of options that I was ready to go with, but I wanted the fans to help us out a little bit and get a little interactive on the page. So I had two names, Blame the Handicap and Double File All the While, because in 2018, every restart is double file this year, unless we get, I believe it's going to be 3 consecutive yellow flags. Then we'll
Yep.
go to a single file restart. So Blame the Handicap, Double File All the While, and with 55% of the votes, Blame the Handicap will be my team name for Fantasy Racing 2018. All right, so that'll be my team name. Let's go to our picks. Pick number 1 out of the Bullring Brigade. Megan Dupuy, who are you going with in the Bullring Brigade?
I am going with Cody Baker.
Cody Baker,
Yep.
defending track champion of the front-wheel drive division. Okay. And your reasoning for picking him? I mean, the reasons are obvious, right?
Yeah, pretty obvious. But I'm thinking he just went down to Georgia, had a pretty good run down there. And as a racer myself, I know that when you go to another track and you come back to your home track, you always take the things that you learned at the track you just went to. So I'm hoping, that he learned some new things, and he's going to be taking them back to Woodhull this coming week. And he's kind of got the car shook down because he's already raced. So I'm hoping he'll come out and do really well.
Kim, your pick for Bullring Brigade.
Well, I'm going to pick the guy that lost the season championship by 1 point to Mr. Cody Baker, Sean Gleason.
Sean Gleason, okay. All right.
I had a hard time picking this one, to be honest with you. I completely forgot the modifieds weren't there, which is really bad of me. But I picked Sean. Nothing against Cody. Nothing against Cody. Cody's great guy. I like Cody a lot. I just thoroughly enjoy watching Cody and Sean race against each other. They put on a great show. Both of them do. And I mean, if you look at the points last year or this past season, Sean lost to Cody. Year before that, Cody lost to Sean. So they put on a great show in that front wheel drive class. And there's no reasoning, I guess, why I picked one over the other. Okay. I just thoroughly enjoy watching both of them race, and they both put on a really good show.
All right, well, let's get to my pick here for the Bullring Brigade. And I'm going with a driver who I think is going to enter 2018 with an absolute fire in his belly. He ran so well last season, lost the championship by just 1 point. I'm going with Stevie Hartman III in the Crate Sportsman.
Good pick.
He's going to be my pick for the Bullring Brigade this week. And not only with the storylines from last season, but he's one of the guys I'm picking tonight because I'm going to keep him on my team for sure next week when we have that $1,000 to win Crate Sportsman race sponsored by Insinger Performance and Elias Tire. So that's the reason I'm going Stevie Hartman is I am going to be keeping him on my team for at least a couple of weeks here because, like I said, I think that there is going to be just a fire in his belly to come out and get some wins and be strong right out of the gate. So that's the way I'm going here. Let's see. Megan, let's go back to you for our Woodhull Wingnuts division. And who are you going with here?
I am going with Jake Ginn in the Sportsman division.
All right, driver of the 3-car.
Yep. I chose him because, he's usually always up front. He's a really good driver, and I really just felt like I should choose him for that one.
Okay. That's a great reason. Got several wins last year. He had some tough luck at the beginning of the year, but after they got the tough luck behind them, they were really, really strong for sure. Kim, how about you for our Woodhull Wingnuts division?
I have to go with a 31 Street Stock, Mr. McSeely.
Hey, there you go. Mick the Quick.
Mick the Quick. I have a temporary name for my fantasy league, the Tough Luck team. Mick's definitely got some tough luck. He had 9 top 5s last year. That right there is just frustrating within itself. Just couldn't capitalize on a win, and I think Mick is a strong top 5 competitor. I definitely see him coming out and getting a couple wins this year, and I'm hoping he does so. He's a very well-rounded guy, very, very nice to everyone, gives a hand to anybody that needs one in the pit area. So I can't wait to see what Mick does this year.
All right. Well, for my pick for the Woodhull Wingnuts division, I am going to go with... See, now here's the thing. Our modified drivers don't start until April 28th, so you can't pick any of those guys. But I think for my Woodhull Wingnut division, I'm going to go with Carl Bourne. Driver in our mini stock division, car number 06, feature win last season. He had some tough luck himself. He's our Sportsmanship Award winner from last season in that division. And I just think that early in the season is going to be a good race for Carl Bourne, and I expect him to do well on opening night. So that's where I'm going to go with my pick there. Let's bring Megan back in here to talk about her pick for the last division, which, of course, is the High Bank Hustlers division. So, Megan, who do you have in that third group?
I have Brian Knowles in the third group.
Brian Knowles, okay.
Yes.
So
Pork chop.
Going with the late model driver.
Yep. So when I was making my choices, I pulled up our schedule to make sure I didn't make any mistakes and choose someone that wasn't going to be there. So I was like, yeah, I saw our crate late model race, and I'm like, all right, I'm hoping for a good turnout. Brian's a good driver, usually up front, so I'm going with that one.
Okay, Kim, how about you for the High Bank Hustlers?
So I kind of, again, struggled with this one. And this is my third driver with tough luck. Bobby Peoples.
Okay. Great sportsman.
Yep. Bobby had I know he got a win last year. He's always done good in the Bullring challenge that we have with the sportsman. And he's had a lot of rough times this past season. So hopefully he's got some stuff figured out, and hopefully will not let my team down.
Yeah, no pressure, Bobby. No pressure at all.
Yeah.
So for me, for the High Bank Hustlers, I'm going to go with Dan Gardner. You want to talk about a guy that could be on that tough luck team. That car was so fast last season, and it just seemed like he either had bad luck or circumstances didn't play out for him. One of the, and I say it on the microphone every week, and I mean it, one of the sharpest cars in terms of how they do the graphics and wrap on that machine in the pit area. So I'm going with Dan Gardner in the street stock division. And I know that, I'm going to get a whole heap of crap from Adam Del Grosso for not picking him in the front wheel drives. But here's my thing on that. It would be easy for me to pick Adam Del Grosso, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go with Dan Gardner in the street stocks. And again, you get to change one driver per week. So for me, this third group is probably the group where I may change the most. Like, this group is that's what makes this fantasy racing fun, is, you can, and I see that Shannon and Kenny Peoples just joined. They were the champions of the fantasy racing game last year. But the thing is, you got to go with the drivers that are, on a hot streak, or they're doing very, very well in the point race. And, the reason that they're doing well in the point race is because they're getting those consistent finishes. So, that's what's going to be fun about this. You can change a driver a week. If there's one driver in particular that's on a hot streak, you can switch them out and do that. So
I'm going to make you regret that one coming Saturday.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry, Adam. Hey, come out and show me something in week 1, and then, who knows what'll happen here in week 2. How's that for a good ribbing?
I actually got to say something. I am very surprised you picked Dan Gardner.
Okay.
I actually had Dan originally in my team. Then I forgot modifieds weren't there, which has nothing to do with Dan, but I reset my whole team again, and I didn't want another street stock driver. So I had to get rid of Dan. I didn't want to, but
yeah,
you gotta even it out.
Well, that car is so strong. That car was originally the chassis that Dylan Cece won a championship with several seasons ago. So, that car and you know that car is fast. He's got a great motor underneath the hood. He just had some bad luck last year, and I'm thinking, okay, that bad luck streak has got to come to an end. And I think it comes to an end right out of the box here in week 1. And again, we're not picking who we think might win the race. And that's the thing about fantasy. You don't have to take the guy that you think is going to win the race, but you got to have those top 5 finishes. That is what led the People's Motorsports crew and Shane Jackson with the Woodhull Yellow Wrecker. That's why they were the top 3 in points last year, is they kept picking the drivers that consistently finished in the top 5, and that's what you got to have. So, ladies, do we have anything else? We've talked almost 52 minutes here. I didn't think we'd go nearly this long here tonight, but it's been a great time. Do you guys have any closing comments?
Nope. I hope we get a good turnout for Saturday. If Saturday ends up happening, hopefully Mr. Scott Hickson will let me off from work. But I hope to see everyone on Saturday, and don't forget to come and draw. That's the biggest thing.
Okay. Megan, how about for you? Do you have your driver picked out for your interview this week?
I do not. Oh man, I gotta go back to that. I gotta go back to picking drivers.
Okay. All right. Awesome.
All right. So you know what? I think we should do? I think we should pose a question to our fans to see what driver I should interview.
Okay.
Oh, I like that idea.
That's a great idea. You know what? We'll post that tomorrow morning.
Okay.
And the driver that is commented the most, that's who Megan will go interview. How about that?
Sounds good to me.
All right, perfect. Well, folks, that's going to wrap it up here for episode number 2 of Inside the Bullring. We want to thank everybody for joining us on the Facebook live feed. We have had awesome numbers here on the video tonight. We hope that the information you get here is helpful. If you have any comments or feedback, feel free to send us a private message on the Woodhull Raceway page or send us an email, woodhullracewaypr@gmail.com. All the news and updates this week at woodhullraceway.com, and we will look forward to hopefully getting a race in this week. If not, we'll certainly see anybody that comes out that wants to put some laps on their car. Thank you, folks, for joining us tonight. We'll see you right back here next Monday night at 6 o'clock.